Humility is central to our freedoms. It prevents tyranny. Welcome to day number 3 of 25 attributes of Christ, where we take one attribute of Christ every day and talk about how it relates to American history and our current American culture. Today we're going to talk about humility. Humility is an often misunderstood characteristic. A lot of times we think of humility almost as a weakness, but in reality, humility is an incredible strength. Humility is defined as freedom from pride or arrogance, or the general attitude that you recognize your worth is equal to others and that you don't have any special importance that makes you better than other people. Jesus Christ speaks of humility in these words. Matthew 11, verse 29, he says, "For I am meek and lowly in heart," and he invites us to be like him. George Washington considered himself a servant of the people, and his actions reflected that humility throughout his life. For example, George Washington resigned his military command at the end of the Revolutionary War. This was completely unprecedented, as it was typical at the time for military commanders to seize power following the conflict. Another thing George Washington did is he actually refused a salary while he was commander-in-chief and while he was president, again considering himself a servant of the people. George Washington also voluntarily concluded his service as president after just 2 terms, relinquishing his power to John Adams, who took his place. This is an idea that was completely foreign to most leaders at the time and shocked the King of England. George Washington also exemplified his humility in the way that he treated his men. For example, there was a time when a group of soldiers were struggling with some manual labor and they didn't recognize George Washington. And when the corporal in charge refused to help the men, Washington jumped in and helped them himself. That's pretty awesome. At one point in time, people also wanted to call George Washington His Majesty or other aristocratic designations, and George Washington rejected all of those titles, preferring the simple term Mr. President. And finally, George Washington was cognizant of his own weaknesses. In his farewell address, he referred to his own very fallible judgment and acknowledged his own imperfections. George Washington's humility has made a massive difference in our American history. The tradition of having only 2 presidential terms started by Washington. The simplicity of the name Mr. President started by Washington. The idea that power should be given peacefully from one leader to the next started by Washington. And finally, this concept of the president as the servant of the people was started by Washington. Humility is central to our freedoms. It prevents tyranny. And as we celebrate this characteristic, we are promoting freedom. If you want to join me in the fight for freedom, share this clip with a friend, and let's inspire the world to be humble together. My name is Logan, and this is American Providence.